Today on Cream City Creatives, we visit a local Milwaukee band, the Fatty Acids, on their home turf to discuss the music scene in Milwaukee. Then they'll join us live for an in-studio performance. Later, we go to Soar Studios to visit the brothers Jensen Presents, two brothers who work in tandem to create art here in Milwaukee. I'm your host, Ryan Lemire. Welcome to Cream City Creatives, a show dedicated to local creative types here in Milwaukee. We decided to do this show because a lot of people don't think that Milwaukee has much of an art scene. The truth is, it's there and it's alive and growing. We're here to give you a little sample of what you can expect to find when you turn over a few stones. Our first segment features the Fatty Acids, an electronic punk band based in River West. You can find this band playing at many bars and clubs in the Milwaukee area. Earlier, we sat down with this tight-knit group at the River West home, which, at some point, every band member but one has lived in.
My name is Josh Everett, and I play keyboards and sing in the Fatty Acids.
Hi, I'm Cole Kwame, and I play drums in the Fatty Acids.
My name's Derek, and I play the bass.
My name is Matt Pappas, and I play the guitar in the Fatty Acids.
My name is Joel Van Haren. I play guitar, sing, and abuse a tambourine in the Fatty Acids.
My name is Kurt Rather, and I play trumpet in the Fatty Acids.
I think some of the best memories that I have playing with the Fatty Acids are from our first shows as a band.
And we started off playing basements for probably the first.
In this basement.
Yeah, a lot.
We played in this basement a lot.
They were always full of 80 to 100 kids, and we would have free shows, but the noise complaints became too much. So we had to shut those shows down.
The Fatty Acids have gone on to play shows in River West, Bayview, and even Turner Hall. Over the last 5 years, they have built up a loyal following. So what effect do their fans play in the creative process?
And like how we work creatively, it's like we don't really talk much. We just let the music speak, which is, I think, is pretty awesome. And we don't even, we don't think like, oh, what's the crowd going to think during this part or anything. We just play it, we just figure it out, and hopefully someone likes it. That's what I feel.
So, do the Fatty Acids ever get nervous before their shows?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix between, before the show, I definitely sometimes have a little bit of nervousness. I'd say more of it's like anxiousness and excitement. There's some shows that are like kind of a little more intimidating than others, I suppose. Bigger venues, larger crowds, or we're playing with a band that we really all dig and like we want to kind of like impress them,
I feel like I get nervous before certain shows, but I think it depends on how well we've practiced leading up to that show. If I feel confident in, how we've practiced our set, then, it goes pretty swell. But it also depends on crowd size and, the artists that we're playing with. Oftentimes, if we're playing with an artist that we really admire, we want to do it, that much better to show them how well we can play.
Yes, I get really nervous before shows. Let me just put it that way.
There was one show in particular that made the group nervous.
That was at Turner Hall. That was our first time at Turner Hall, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was like
great.
the most nervous we've ever been, I think, for a show.
Yeah, definitely.
Derek Dunn, the singer and main songwriter for that band, used to live a few houses down. So I'd always see him like walking his dog and stuff. And he asked us to play one day at Turner. So that was our first time playing Turner. It was like the scariest thing.
Yeah, there were like 800 people there.
Yeah, it was close to sold out.
Everyone picks up an instrument for different reasons. We asked the Fatty Acids what inspired them to pick up theirs.
Growing up, I played the piano, but was awful. And then I tried playing the drums, and I was awful. So I gave up music during middle school, and then moved to the guitar in early high school. And I've been playing with Derek, our bassist, since sophomore year of high school, so it's going on 10 years now.
The reason I started playing bass was because my older brother played bass, and I thought he was really cool. And so my mom paid him and made him give me lessons.
I wanted to play music, and I really enjoy playing music because it's like a really good way to like get feelings out, I guess. Like you can just be on stage and be like playing and just kind of being wild and crazy, and it's a really good like stress relief.
I definitely remember hating piano lessons more than liking them. And after I graduated high school, I just kind of took a break, didn't play for a while. And when I met these guys, they kind of got me back into it.
And then I started playing drums when I was like 4th grade, something like that, and then just been doing it ever since and being in bands since like middle school.
I mean, I've loved music my entire life. My dad was really into music, always playing records and stuff at home. And he used to play the guitar. And when I was really little, about 3 or 4 years old, maybe 5, I told my dad I wanted to play the drums. So he took me into a drum, class for the lesson. And my feet couldn't even reach the pedals, So the guy was like, well, you're going to have to bring your son in here in about 5 more years. But that was like my first, I guess indication that I wanted to play music.
Many people do not consider Milwaukee to be a city that has a great art and music scene. The Fatty Acids shared their insight in where you can find great local music around you.
I think it's as simple as just like checking out the AV club listings, going to a couple shows. You're going to meet people there. You're going to see some amazing groups that you never heard of, and it'll just escalate.
With a 6-member band who spends so much time together, do creative tensions arise?
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a major conflict creatively or like anything really that we've ever fought.
No, not about like, don't play this part, none of that stuff.
It's always like, try this, try that.
I think that's why we've lasted, 5 years.
The Fatty Acids are such a tight-knit group that all but one of them have lived in the same house at one time.
It's been fine. We never killed each other.
Yeah, it's a little messy right now, but it's all good. Sometimes it's really clean. It was nice when his girlfriend lived here. She was really clean all the time.
If you're interested in finding out more about the Fatty Acids or where you can see them play, visit thefattyacidsmusic.com. For our next segment, we visited Soar Studios, home of the brothers Jensen Present, a tag team duo of brothers who create art in Bayview. We're here in Bayview with John and Dave. They're an artist team called the Brothers Jensen Present, and they're going to take us on a tour of their studio. So guys, what do we got going on behind us here?
Probably one of our most famous pieces, if you will, because it's been around. We've had it in most of the shows we've done recently, and it's been featured in Communication Arts, which is a pretty big deal for us. We've been trying to get in there for a while, and finally, with this one, got in, and we're real excited about that. It was what, 2 years ago? 2 years ago, and it's called Salt in the Sweet. It's actually based on a photograph of me.
I was going to say, he does look familiar.
Yeah.
Now I'm noticing there's a bumblebee in it, and I kind of see a theme going on here. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the bee's been kind of a symbol for our studio, really. Soar Studios, that's what we call it. And, because bees fly, it's sort of a soaring type of action.
Moving right along here, guys. What is this wild foam-looking thing behind us?
Well, it's somebody else's garbage, for one thing,
Nice.
I think. So we took it and recycled it into something that we use to make art. Like we use it to actually print images, and we use it to make sculptures.
Okay. So what big things are you guys working on now?
Probably the biggest thing is our, for lack of a better term, we're calling it a zine, but it really doesn't follow traditional zine things like text. We're trying not to put any text in it, mostly pictures. Of course, there'll be words because a lot of the pictures and or art that we do has words in it anyway. But but there's not going to be any, text telling you what to like or, that
What
type
to
of thing.
buy.
Yeah, it's more
how to
about
look.
the art and specifically our art and our family's art.
One interesting aspect of the magazine is that, to our knowledge, it's the first of its kind to employ several different printing techniques and process. And also, the pages are not made of just one traditional pulp or paper.
To learn more about their art and art in Milwaukee, I sat down with David and John. What would you say to a Milwaukee resident that doesn't really know about art outside of the art museum?
To probably dig a little deeper. By that I would mean try to just interact with the social aspect of the neighborhoods or the boroughs that you're hanging out in. I mean, every place in the city or any other city, I think, is very rich in art. It's just that some of it you have to put a little elbow grease to find it.
Are Milwaukeeans supportive of the local art scene?
Yeah, for the most part, I think Milwaukee is like really hungry to know about great music, great visuals, great experiences.
Find new stuff.
It's a very rich city, you know, extremely rich, because I think, you know, unlike other cities that we are very close to, Minneapolis or Chicago or whatever, what have you, they're great cities as well. But the differentiating point for us that we found is that there's so much there that you can get lost in it. Here, it's a really nice timbre, you know, a nice balance of people, you know, trying new things and also trying to stay current.
Take me through the opening night of a gallery, the first night. What's going through your minds?
I'll tell you right now, every show we've done, we're working up until people are walking through the door.
That's kind of why I'm laughing, is because we actually have a reputation for people that do frequent our shows, that they're like, oh, like our last show, they came and we actually were done by the time we opened the doors, and they're like, oh, you're actually not working. You can talk, you know, you can sit and talk to us.
Is there a lot of competition in general amongst local artists, or do you guys pretty well jive together and work together?
There's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of people that have great ideas. I mean, this isn't a forum of competition. It's not a forum of, you know, this guy's got it, this guy's doesn't. Everybody has something special, and art isn't, you know, for us, art isn't confined by paint or by canvas or by, oh, you got some clay and you made a sculpture. Well, no. I mean, make a sculpture out of anything. Express yourself.
So I see you guys are kind of bending mediums here. You don't just work in paint and stills. You're building installations.
True.
Yeah, this piece, Ryan, is somewhat of an extension of the idea of what we do with the foam. As we said before, we like to mold into it for printing purposes and sculptural purposes, but we also take sheet foam and a razor blade, get real intimate with it all, and come up with somewhat geometric, somewhat organic designs that to us mimic what we see in nature.
I'm seeing the beehive.
Yes, sir. We did use the bee as a primal focus for influence on this piece. However, different from the traditional hive concept, this is a modulative hive concept where it can be installed in a room as one big piece as we have here, or it can also be sectioned and each individual hive can hang up in the ceilings in the same type of show.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for having us today. You got a lot of cool things going on here. We really appreciate it.
Wow. Thanks a lot, Ryan.
No problem.
Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Joining us in the studio, we have the guys you just saw, the brothers Jensen Present. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Ryan.
Thanks for coming in.
Hi.
So I know we kind of touched on it a little bit in the package. Art runs deep in your family. How long have you been working together? I mean, your brothers, obviously. So at what point did you start working together?
That was on Saturday morning cartoons. We would get up an hour early, probably 5 a.m., and my mom would always be like, get back to bed, you know, and we'd grab our markers and magic markers and first sniff them because they smelled great, cherry, licorice, you know, what have you. And since it smelled so good, we kept doing it, and we just kind of started drawing each other, and then drawing each other Hot Wheel collections and Micronaut collections, and you know, it kind of budded from there, I guess.
So do you think that smelling the markers had an influence on your creative?
Absolutely, yes. Smells are very important to this day. So, you know, where we work, it's, you know, if we need to get into a certain mode, it's not only about the music, we also burn incense too.
Sure. So you guys are listening to music. Like, bring me through the process when you guys are creating art. You work together. You're not working. You get your feet off each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And sometimes if we have enough space in our studio at the time, there'll be a drum set in the corner and a bass amp and a guitar in the other corner, and we'll, you know, if there's any creative block, which doesn't happen very often,
then we hit the instruments until we jam it out, you know, that
Nice.
type of thing.
So have you guys always worked, as far as your artistry goes, have you always worked together, or did one of you start off before the other one and, you know, the little brother, big brother follow it, or was, you know, how was that?
I think there was a little bit of both of that. He certainly influenced me. He left the nest early and went to live in New York. This was around 94, I think, 94, 95?
91? 91 to 94, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and it was nice to see Big Brother go out and say, look, I'm going to get some different perspectives to bring back, and, you know, and it was a huge eye-opener for me, because at that time I was, you know, in a band and playing Milwaukee and stuff, and it's awesome because to us it was a very close-knit thing, and you know, our friends would come out and support what we were doing, no matter how heinous it was at the time. But I think that, you know, we also have an older sister, Antoinette, who left the nest for California and New York early. So being a flight attendant for American Airlines, she jockeys all over the, you know, the world, and sends things to influence us to be like, hey, you got to get out and see this. So usually I don't like to hop on planes, but seeing as the two older siblings push me, it helps get perspectives in check, you know.
So, I mean, you mentioned your grandfather and your mother in the video, being artists and stuff like that. What influence did they have on your...
Huge, man. Like our grandfather, he was basically showing us how to do this in his own way from the time we met him. You know, from the time we recall meeting him, I would say, because of course we probably met him as babies, but didn't really realize it. But yeah, he had us in his columns, you know, holding up snapping turtles by the tail for a Polaroid, and you know how hard Polaroids are to get at when the sun's starting to set.
And how heavy snapping turtles are, because you're hanging onto it by the tail, and he's, you know, my grandfather's like, John, don't let it get too close to your leg, and the neck is going, ah, you know.
Be careful, it could kill you, but hold it up.
Yeah, hold it up, get it up there. So.
But yeah, so he was always great at, you know, archiving what he was doing, and his photography and his writing went into his painting and his radio show. So, and he lived it every day too. You know, I mean, that's, I think, part of it. We try to live what we do to a certain extent without breathing fumes all day long. But yeah, man, it started early, and then Mom just continued on with her love of vintage clothing and her, you know, ability to crochet without a pattern. She makes hats and purses that sort of mimic the old styles, you know, the old real ornate type styles, but then it's crocheted, so it's got this awesome texture, and then now she's getting into color use and asking us questions and going back and forth, and it's awesome, man.
It's neat, because we'll do a series of paintings in the same color schemes, and it'll influence her next round of hats or purses. So from a crocheter standpoint, if you're aficionado of that certain media, mostly it's based off of a mathematical pattern that you just keep repeating. Well, the way that my mom has kind of approached it all her life is that her mother taught her, but she threw the math out the window, so she just like illustrates and sculpts with this math with thread, and to me it's just fascinating, because other people that do work in the media of crochet will see her items and go, how did you do this? What pattern did you follow? And she says, none, because each piece is different.
Yeah.
So there's you guys have you guys are playing off each other in your artwork, but then you're still bringing in your mom. Like, that's really cool.
Yep. Thank you.
What did your grandfather do? I mean, I know that you did a lot with Polaroids and documenting stuff. What else did he do?
Well, everyday fisherman, hunter, of course, and gardener. They always had beautiful flowers around the house, you know. Took care of his yard, you know. He lived on the Sugar River for most of my time with him anyway.
Plus, you're talking about a guy that, excuse me for interrupting, but this guy was in 2 wars, so he has a mindset of a sergeant. So you don't waste a second around this guy. You know, if he sees you sloughing 1 second, he's like, Judge on, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know. So it was always, we always felt that we had to be doing something, whether it was, you know, picking up apples or, you know, starting a painting. It was always this feeling of, you don't get to sit in front of the TV, you know? You don't get to have a Atari 2600. Do they make those anymore?
No.
Sorry. You know, so it was a different, I think, approach to creativity for us than what was happening at the time. Because a lot of our friends were always like, why don't you come out and hang out? And, well, I got to finish this painting. I got to finish this song or something like that, you know? And not to take one choice over the other. It was just that's how we were raised, and that's how we always felt good once we had this feeling of accomplishment. Like, it might not be the best song, but at least it's finished, and you can move on.
Sure.
You know?
Is working with your brother, I mean, I guess both of you could speak to this, is working with your brother a pain? Or do you find it easier than to work with a partner? Your brother's not just your partner, he's your brother.
It can be. I mean, it's of course
Both ways, of course, but
yeah. We'd be lying if we said it was all, you know, cupcakes and roses, you know. But sometimes I make a really good cupcake, and sometimes he picks a really good flower. So sometimes
adorable.
Sometimes it complements each other, but then sometimes again, I think the clash can be a welcome attribute to a project. Sometimes.
yeah, another way to create some, because honestly, if you look at our education sort of separate from our brotherly lives, we have a different education. Like I grew up with, I started as a math major, and I figured out I didn't want to teach, so I went into engineering, and I loved, you know, the way straight lines looked on paper and all that. But John, he was always about freehand illustration. He was with pencils right away trying to draw people around him.
Sure.
So it was always curved and shades and stuff, where mine is just, you know, that. But as we grew older, you sort of meet minds come together and create things from both sides.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for coming in and joining us. We appreciate it. It was
Thank
a treat going to your studio.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we have a special treat for everyone at home. You saw them earlier in the show, and the Fatty Acids are here again to perform live an unplugged version of their song, Light Polluted Constellations.
Such a sense of longing for the reservoir and the blanket spreading out of the polluted constellations. Why it take so long to let me like a footprints from the basement of the stairs, and the love we might not let money receiving will be audited and sees it's only fair. It's only fair. Just look at me finally getting what's out. It took so long, I'm a shepherd to my thoughts, frustrating as it can be when they're scattered. It helps me decide which ones can get lost, Never ever felt such a sense of longing for the reservoir and the blanket spreading out of the polluted constellations. Why so long to let me in.
All right, that's the show tonight. Thanks for joining us. Fatty Acids, you want to play us out? All right.